So, I see you've gotten into 50 Shades of Grey.
No, nothing like that.
Are you sure?
I'm quite positive, trust me.
I don't know, man.
I can't even get the bots to message me back on Tinder anymore, so.
Okay. You look like you're ready for the plague or for a night in Gray's pleasure room.
No, preparedness for this whole corona scare that's going on.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
I see. Nice mask.
Be careful. Oh, thank you.
Don't you need a filter on that thing, though?
Yeah.
Aha, all right.
I guess hold on.
At least it covers your ugly mug.
Ow. Really?
Really, yes.
I guess you make a valid point there, and I kind of haven't shaved, so it's not really a tight seal.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think that one through. I guess I kind of panicked, overreacted a little bit there.
Okay. Well, are you panicking and stocking up on everything?
Panic? No. I've got something to show you.
Do you have enough toilet paper?
Oh, yeah. I'm plenty prepared. I got water.
Okay.
Toilet paper.
All right.
Some of them fancy military ready. Hey. Nice cold weather meals. Got some moonshine in case I need to sanitize or enjoy anything.
Okay.
And it's Friday the 13th. I came prepared for that as well. Holy water.
Lovely.
And
oh my God, you legitimately have a bottle of holy water?
yeah, I brought a cross too.
This is
one can never be too
Let me see this thing. Now, is this one of those ones that hides like chocolate on the inside or something?
No,
Jesus
it's not.
isn't like a chocolate Jesus or
No.
something? No? All right.
Said I came full well prepared for this night, just in case.
I could tell you did, man. You're quite the prepper.
I wouldn't call it that. If you notice, I'm not wearing the orange shirt tonight, though. That way I blend in when I'm anywhere. I don't stand out.
I mean, I love that you brought props. This is yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, no orange shirt.
Uh-huh.
You're being a gray man right now.
Yes, exactly.
You know what a gray man is,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I should have worn the gray shirt, not the blue.
Is this legitimately holy water?
That is actual holy water.
Does it taste good?
I don't know. I've never tasted holy water. I mean, I probably drank some when I was being baptized as a kid. Oh, wow, he actually did that.
Okay, and it just tastes like regular water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it says,
blessed.
dispel the devil. The devil hates holy water because of its power over him. He cannot long abide in a place or near the person that is often sprinkled with this blessed water. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said Friday the 13th and the Corona scare. You can't be too careful, man. I've got all bases covered here.
And apparently, I need to buy this myself.
And it might burn you.
Well,
I wouldn't be surprised to see smoke start coming out your mouth in a few minutes.
So, bottle of water like this at most stores these days is about $2, right?
I don't know. I haven't shopped for water in a long time.
I mean, not if you buy a pallet or a case of it, but if you go into a gas station,
you're usually paying between
like
$1.89.
$1.89. Yeah, $1.89, $1.09, $1.25 a bottle for the holy water.
I don't know how old that is, though. Keep that in mind.
Oh, okay. I said, I just buy the holy water, start drinking that every day.
That would be awesome. No, I think that's everything.
This has gotten weird, man.
I mean, I got a flashlight, but I don't really count that. That just happened to be in my bag. Oh, I hope I didn't break that.
Is that like some sort of... Why does the bag look like it's like waterproof or something?
Oh, it's like a sports bag kind of thing. I don't know. A buddy of mine gave it to me. He wasn't using it.
Are we even going to talk about vehicles on this podcast, or is this going to be something like what are we doing here, man?
I don't know on that. I've got a bunch of notes on my computer. We're going to take a quick break and pull that out, put this away, and we can actually do
We made a lot of promises being episode 48.
We did. So let's take a quick break, and I'll pull that out, put this stuff away. You cannot keep that, sir.
I'm keeping the holy water then.
All right, that's fine. I'll see you in a minute.
It's time to hit the trail, lock in those hubs, and throw it into low range. Because you are listening to Wheelin' with Keith and Johnny Orange, broadcasting from the Thin Line Off-Road Studio. They're here to talk about 4x4s, trucks, and everything to do with enjoying the great outdoors. Buckle up. Here's your hosts, Keith and Johnny Orange.
Are we done with comedy night with Gallagher
For now.
for now? Are you gonna smash a watermelon here pretty soon?
Surprise for them.
Oh, okay, all right. All your props tonight. So, if you're listening to us on a podcasting source, you
really missed out.
Johnny, you got to watch us on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that would probably be the most entertaining section of
absolutely.
our YouTube show for the time being, because our studio is still under construction. Just time, money. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. But
It's there. We could post some teaser pictures one of these days.
yeah, we could. But
Anywho.
We have been promising, because this is episode 48, we have been promising that we were going to
We're
do
going to do a case race each?
a what?
Case race?
What's a case race?
You've never heard of the case race?
No.
Each person gets a case of beer.
Okay.
Whoever finishes first wins. 24 and 24, 48.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, sounds good to me. No, 48 is the year that the F-Series truck came out.
Indeed.
The Ford F1. And we have been talking about how we're going to do kind of a history episode here. It doesn't have to be jam-packed with history, but I'd like to talk about Ford F-Series trucks.
I'm all right with that, because starting looking into some of this stuff, if we hit on every generation of this, we'd be here till about this time next week. There are 13 generations of these trucks.
Well, yeah, and I was kind of thinking the same. So, like, if we wanted to do an episode where we're talking about, for example, I'm just going to throw something out there, the 73 to 79 dent sides. Mm-hmm. You could do an entire episode on those, because they actually got, in 77, kind of a little facelift remake. There's a lot of different engines, things like that. You could do a whole episode on one series. Like how many do you say? 13 series?
13, and that's just the F series. That does not include the medium duty and the heavy duty ones.
It probably doesn't
And then
include
all the specialty
the Bronco
versions.
either, or
No.
So yeah, the F series is really a huge line.
I never quite understood how in depth and how much, how long it's been around. Holy crap!
Well, 1948.
Well, yeah. I mean, I knew that from us talking, but I never realized that. Just never clicked beforehand.
Now, in interest in full disclosure, and I've told you this before, I'm very knowledgeable. Well, actually, I would say very knowledgeable about the Ford F-Series from about 1973 to now. The 60s a little bit, but the 50s and 40s, well, 48, 49, not so much. I've only owned one F1 Ford.
Nice.
It was a F1 panel truck. I've only owned one of those.
Was that the one at the Mill Street house?
It was the gray one.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, it had a...
that was cool.
It was a hot rod. It had a 383 Chrysler engine in it. It was just an oddball, kind of a combination of a hot rod. I had that one. I have not had a 50s or 60s F-Series, but then after that, I have had every series. I've had every series of the Ford truck since about 1975 to today.
Nice. Well, that starts you off in the 6th generation then.
Okay.
So from there forward.
All right. Well, okay. So in your research, do you have any like really cool points that you want to hit on really quick about how the F-Series came about?
Not as far as the origination of it.
Okay.
I mean, it was preceded by the 41 to 48 Ford pickup.
Yeah, and that was a car-based platform.
Yeah.
I do know that. It was the 41 to 48 there was actually a break during World War II where they didn't produce trucks for the civilian market, but they are very limited amounts.
Yeah.
But that was its own frame, but it still used a car design.
Yeah.
And so
I remember skimming across that in a couple points.
Yeah.
So.
When the F-Series came out for 48, they now had their own chassis, their own body, and it was a truck from the word go, design standpoint.
They had 8 different weight ratings on that. There was a pickup, the panel truck, cab over engine, conventional truck, and a school bus chassis style.
You're talking
just
in the F1.
The first generation, yeah.
Okay. Of course, we did an episode back in episode 32 where we talked about the most influential V8 engines of all time. When the Ford F-Series came out in 1948, it had the flathead V8 engine in it, which was the Ford's engine that had been around since 1932. It was kind of short-lived in the F-Series because they ended up going to the Y-block V8 series and some of their other series of engines. But the F-Series came out with the original flathead V8 in it.
Yeah, that lasted 48 to 51.
Oh, you actually had notes on that?
I've got a few. There was a tremendous amount of information I found, and then I went back and reviewed all that and found a whole other slew of information.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be switching a few tabs here, but I can find most of that stuff here.
Okay.
So,
And, real notable, if we're talking about the F1 series, was Ford had started right after World War II I guess you call it a partnership, but a working agreement with Marmon Harrington. And from an off-road standpoint, you could not order an F-Series four-wheel drive from the factory in 48, 49, but you could order through your Ford dealer a Marmon Harrington four-wheel drive conversion.
yeah.
And so the F-Series has always been, quote-unquote, available as a 4x4 truck.
Yeah, and it looks like it says that the Marmon Harrington thing was available until 1959.
Yeah,
So
that's Ford, I think,
Yeah.
in 57 on the half-ton started offering the four-wheel drive from the
No,
factory.
I'm sure I've got that somewhere here.
You
there's-
have to. I mean, this is a 4x4 show, John.
Yeah, there's so much here, dude.
Yeah.
I highlighted a few things to go over, and we'll see how much of that we even get to.
Okay. Well, fair enough. There's a lot. We had thrown out there the invite a couple of podcasts ago, a couple different podcasts where we said, hey, if anybody wants to come on and talk to us about the Ford F-Series because they're even more knowledgeable than us or something
Yeah.
on there. We didn't have anybody take us up on that.
Bummer.
We had,
I'm disappointed in you guys.
well, yeah, we had some
Make me
people
do more
that,
work.
that
Come on.
commented on some of our our Facebook posts with pictures of their collections, things like that. But we didn't have anybody that said they'd really like to come on.
Bummer.
Well, it's a bummer.
It's all
but
good. It happened.
yeah, at the same point, our reach is still getting out there.
Oh, yeah.
We're still building. But, so going back to this Ford. After the F1, was it the F2, the F3? Is that what they actually called
I
them?
believe, it was F1 through F8, basically.
Oh.
And that went into some of the bigger ones. The 2-ton.
Yeah.
There's one called a big job. Oh, my God. I didn't notice that. No.
The big jobs?
Yeah, the gross vehicle weight rating on that's 20 to 22,000 pounds.
Yeah, I think you
Lord.
could get a diesel in the big jobs, couldn't you?
Don't recall on
Maybe
that,
the later
and
ones.
it's
I
locked
do know, as a little bit of an F-Series, I guess, trivia here, that some of the largest gasoline V8 engines of all time that were in an on-road vehicle, not a military vehicle, but an on-road vehicle, were in the F-Series, some of the commercial chassis.
Yeah.
They had gasoline V8 engines in the 60s that were over 600 cubic inches. Just, some crazy high torque.
Wow.
Yeah, high torque, just low RPM,
That's insane.
big block engines.
Good Lord.
Yeah. An old friend of mine actually used to have I want to say it was a 63 or 64 Ford dual axle dump truck that had one of those biggest
That's
engines in it.
cool.
And he said it got about 5 miles a gallon.
Oh, I believe it.
It's just, but it would go
Takes
all day long.
3/4 of the power just to rotate the engine, probably.
We don't necessarily have to do this step by step whole history of the Fords. Let's talk. And I know you're not a huge Ford family. In fact, is your family, besides like the Lincoln Town Car you had, have they ever had an F-Series truck that you know of?
Not that I know of. The closest I think we've ever come to that is the 8.8 axle under Project XJ.
Okay.
That I'm aware of. I don't think there's ever anything bigger than that.
Okay, I gotcha.
So.
Well, I will tell you my introduction to the F-Series trucks and how I got involved in them. And technically, my very first 4x4 ever was an F-Series.
Oh, nice.
My dad and I were out working one day, and there was a very clean 78 F-150 extended cab 4x4 for sale.
Nice.
And it had a bad engine. It had a rod
Okay.
knock. And this would have been, I want to say, mid-90s.
Okay.
I was just driving as well. Dad needed a new work truck for his business, and we bought this thing for pennies on the dollar because it had a bad engine.
Yeah.
It ran and drove, but it had a rod knock.
Yeah, I traded a case of beer for a Jeep like that once.
Okay, so Dad said, "Oh, we'll have an engine put into this thing." So we bought it. We drove
Wait,
it back.
you didn't do the engine?
Hear me out. I'll tell
Okay.
you the story of this.
Okay.
So it was 78 F-150. So we ended up buying this thing, drove it back to the house. Dad's business kind of went a different direction. And I don't know if it was a money thing or whatever. The truck didn't get touched for about 6 months.
Typical project.
Yeah. He says to me, "Hey, do you want the truck?" Sure. So he gives me the truck. I take the truck, park it out at the farm, and I use it around there. Mainly, in fact, it had such a bad rod knock and the power was so bad on it that I could only get it to really move in 4 low. But I used it around the farm hauling stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't have it on the road at all.
Okay.
For about 3 years. Just
Jeez.
drove it around the farm. Knock, 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 knock. Had a 351M engine in it,
Okay.
which we're going to talk about those in a minute too. So, it had a 351M big block engine in it. Drove it around. One day I had to pull something out that was stuck on the farm. I'm hammering it. Boom, the rod goes through the block. That was the end of it.
Nice.
Sits there. So, neighbor kid, a little bit later, comes over. It's like, "Hey, I'd really like that old F-150 you have. Can I buy this from you?" Made a deal with him. He buys the truck. He turns around, drops a rebuilt engine in it, puts a lift kit on it, 35-inch tires,
Nice.
turns it into his daily driver.
Nice.
He leaves to go to college about 2 years later, drives over. I saw him around town with the truck all the time.
Yeah.
Drives over and is like, "Hey, man, I'm going to sell the truck. Do you know anybody that's interested?" I bought it back.
Nice.
So I ended up driving that. But at that point, in between, I had got my GMC Jimmy, my first Wheelin rig, my S15 Jimmy. But the F-150, I got back. And I ended up
Nice.
driving that for a number of years. And when my kid, Preston, was a little kid, he used to call it the big green truck. We used to take that thing everywhere and drive around in it. And
Did you still have that when I met you?
yeah.
I seem to have a vague memory of that.
Yeah, and then I sold it or gave it to our buddy Lucas, who put a plow on it, used it at their shop.
That might be where I've
He
seen
converted it to a stick, put a 4-speed in it, because it
Yeah.
had an automatic when I had it. He put a 4-speed in it. And it went around town. I mean,
it. Nice.
it's had a couple engines in it. My brother drove it up north, and he ended up, something happened with the carburetor, and it flooded or fuel pump maybe.
Ooh.
Flooded the whole engine, washed out the rings.
Ouch.
Bearings and everything. That M motor that I'm talking about came out, I think 77 was the first year for the M series.
So I don't remember what is the M. I know what the W is, but I don't remember the M.
So there's the thing.
That's part of the story. Okay.
That's part of the story. So many people will say the M stands for modified.
I wouldn't have even figured
Now-
that, but that's because I know what the W is.
Here's the thing. Well, the W is Windsor.
Yeah.
C is Cleveland.
Yeah, I forgot about the C.
With the M series engine was a big block engine. Now, they had two engines in that series. They had the 351M and the 400M.
Okay.
There's a lot of people out there that I'm just gonna say it are idiots, and they think that because it says on the valve cover, they have the same valve covers, 351M/400M. They think they have a 400 that was modified from a 351.
Oh.
No, that's not the case. It's two different
No.
engines. There's a 351M. There's a 400M.
Same valve cover.
Now,
That would be my read of that.
there is no conclusive anyone from Ford or anybody that's ever said the M definitely stands for this. However, a number of people who worked at Ford during the time that the M series came out said that they were casting engines at the Midland Foundry,
Okay.
and it should stand for Midland.
I would have figured something, a location, because that's what the other letters reference.
The modified thing didn't just come out of nowhere. One of the automotive manuals, and I don't know if it was Chilton's or Haynes or something, the same year or year after the M Series came out, mistakenly printed it as a modified, and they've been calling it that ever since.
Wow.
So there is no such thing. You do not have a 351 modified or a 400 modified. Midland, maybe a Midland, but
more
the
than
fact
likely
you have an M. That's what you have. You have an M. True Ford truck guys know vintage, and this is in the what they call the dent side Ford trucks, the 73 to 79 Ford trucks.
Yeah.
You don't have a modified. You might have a Midland, but you just called it an M. Just say, I've got a 351M or a 400M.
I like that. I gotta remember that.
So yeah, it just bugs me.
Yeah.
Every time I'm on a forum or Facebook or something, and the thing is, so many of them, if they just called a 351 modified or a 400 modified, I'm like, okay, I let it roll off my back these days. I didn't used to, now I do. But if they go, I have a 351 400 modified.
Gotta correct that.
Well, which one do you have? Do you have the 351 or do you have the 400? Well, it's both. No, it's the cubic inch displacement. You have either a 351 or you have a 400.
I don't even know if there'd be enough meat to practically make that happen.
Well, true. The interesting part about the 351 and 400 engine family was this engine was designed to be the replacement for the Cleveland. It was going to be the next like muscle car engine for Ford. It has very good breathing heads on it. It has a great cam profiles, but then that oil and gas crisis hit in the 70s, and they ended up choking them with 2-barrel carburetors, derating them. But you can actually build an M Series engine.
Those up pretty nice.
You can do great stuff with M Series. They're really a forgotten engine.
Yeah.
So what a tangent we just got on. But
that's what we do.
That's what we do. That was my first F Series. But since then, I have had a 88 F350 with a 460 four-wheel drive.
Nice.
I've had I had the Centurion, which was
I don't think I knew that.
So the Centurion is where they took a 4-door F350, cut the back off, welded a Bronco back on it. They made a 4-door Bronco prior to the Excursion and Expedition existing.
Built on an F350 chassis?
Yes.
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty cool. They built, I think, about 1,900 of them, if I remember right. There was actually another company that did as well, but Centurion built the majority of them.
Nice.
Mine came out of New Jersey. I started to restore it. They were built very badly. They were a lot of Bondo, a lot of...
That's a shame.
They looked great, but they were,
You mentioned New Jersey, quick tangent side note.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Project XJ... I took the owner's manual out of the glove box in the house. Yeah, blasphemy, whatever. Says right on there not to. It's like the mattress tag.
Yeah.
Whatever. I was actually reading through there. I found the original dealership that sold it in New York City in, it would have been probably 89. And I actually, just for kicks, I looked them up. It's a different name now, but they're still in business.
Really?
Yeah, and I I'm just curious about this, man, but what, do you guys have sales records that go that far back? I'd love to try and track down the original owner of this thing.
You might be able to.
Well, I know it was purchased there, and it went to Illinois at one point. We got it from a lady further up north here in Michigan, or northwest, more west than north. Regardless, we got it from Michigan, and then here it is now. So that's all I know history-wise about it.
Huh.
But yeah, I just thought you mentioned New Jersey. Popped into my mind.
No, that's cool. That's cool, man.
No, I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, we've gotten on a huge tangent here. How about we take a little break? We get kind of combobulated, and we
get back on track.
And we'll start talking about some Fords more.
Sounds good. See you in a minute.
Hey, it sounds like it's time to swap out that old engine for something better, John.
Yeah, man, but I have so much into my trans and transfer case set up already. I don't want to change those too.
Sounds like you need to call Quick Draw Brand Adapters. They specialize in conversion bell housings for nearly all diesel and gasoline engines, including the new 2.8R Cummins.
You know, I like weird engines, though. I want something different.
Then you definitely need to visit quickdrawbrand.com today. They have those hard-to-find parts. They also have used diesel engines available. You can call them at 513-446-9654.
Cool, I'll do that. See what they have. Thanks.
So, getting back on track with the Ford F-Series here, John, we were talking a little bit about kind of some personal stories. And I think that's what we're going to end up doing here with this episode because, like you said, there's just way too much to try to cover the entire history of the Ford F-Series. And we really wouldn't do it justice. So this is more of we're doing...
General gloss over.
Yeah, we're not... I would say we're apologizing. I mean, we're not really apologizing. I know we kind of promised we were going to do a history episode for these.
Well, I got a lot of points I can go over here.
If you've got some, why don't you hit, and maybe I can comment on them or I can ask you some questions. If you've got something that's, go ahead, John.
Roll with it here.
What do you got?
So one of the first major changes was in the second generation of them. They switched or expanded to the 3-number series. We kind of already covered a little bit of that. They went from the F123, the F100. Actually, it's got it right here. The F100.
Yeah, it would be the
3/4 ton F250, the 1-ton F350.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought, if I remember, that the very first time they came out with the 3-letter series or the 3-number series, that the F100 was 2-wheel drive and the F150 was 4-wheel drive. But then they quickly dropped that, and that the F100 could be available with 4-wheel drive, and the F150 could be 2 and 4-wheel drive.
See if this has a note on that other page here about that.
I could be completely off and mistaken on that too. I'm just digging way back in the archival mind of Keith of Wheelin Radio.
That's a deep, dark place.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And of the Museum of Off-Road Adventure.
Yeah. I don't see it on a quick search here. It said there's tremendous amounts of information.
Yeah. But anyway, so they switched to the typical F-Series that we know and love today. Yeah.
Well, to the F100. It didn't change to the F150. I don't remember where that note was.
Okay.
But, so, again, the third generation, we covered that a little bit. Around 59, they started doing the in-house production of 4-wheel drive.
Okay. So 59. I thought it was 57. 59, that sounds right.
It could have been in there. It was around that range.
Okay. Well, basically what you're saying is they switched from using Marmon Harrington kits to in-house with using Dana
during
axles.
That third generation of 1957 to 1960.
Yeah.
So the fourth generation, this was kind of an interesting thing. So the fourth generation, 61 to 66, they offered an optional unibody design.
Yeah,
the cab and bed were integrated one piece.
I was actually going to bring those up. They're really interesting. And that was an option, or was that like
It was an option. They offered the traditional body, the separate, and concurrently with it.
I never knew that. I thought it was like a couple years were the unibody and a couple years were not.
This, it's internet information that I'm coming across with this, so it's...
I never really... Yeah. I had a buddy that was really into those. He ran a body shop, and he really loved the unibody ones. Mm-hmm. He actually loved all of that series. Yeah. And he would build custom ones.
Nice.
So, but those are really interesting, the unibody.
I would love to see one. I didn't actually...
There's old archival footage maybe you should find, and if I find it, I'll throw it up on 4x4 Talk on Facebook. They're where they took one of the unibody ones, and they drop it, I think, out of a C-130... Isn't that what they're called? C-130s?
One of the military planes?
Yeah, cargo plane. Yep. They drop it from a height of like maybe 60 feet or something, and this thing just bounces and doesn't bend in half.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I found a picture on it on one of the pages. That is pretty cool.
They're neat looking. I always thought that was a interesting thing, though, because as your bed rusts out or gets beat up, it's really not replaceable.
No.
Because it's part of the body.
So the picture that's here, and if my computer cooperates... It does look like at least the sides of it. I don't really want to call it a quarter panel. I'll call it a bedside, quote unquote. There's a seam there. Whether it's put together as spot welds or bolted up, I couldn't tell you.
It goes all the way into the cab.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're like an El Camino or a Ranchero.
Yeah, so that's neat though.
So that was in the 60s, and then the 70s is when we started to get the the bump side.
Actually, it was the 6th generation was the F-150.
Okay.
So it was 1975. That was introduced to differentiate between the F-100 and the 250, more or less to avoid certain emissions control stuff.
Oh, okay. So it was
none of
not a
those
two-wheel
government
drive,
things.
four-wheel drive thing.
I can't say for certain, but that's what I'm coming across, that's what it's saying.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. And you mentioned the Bronco earlier. Also in 78, Bronco was redesigned to become a variant of the F-Series trucks.
Yeah, so
that's why then on you get a lot of those interchangeable parts.
Yes, 78 was the first year of the full-size Bronco, 78 and 79 right there. That's in what they call the bump side. I'm sorry, the dent side.
Okay.
So that's like you said, you had, I think it was 68 or 69, the bump side F-Series came out. And the belt line around the middle of the vehicle bumped out. It was like a concave, it's just a sheet metal thing they did. Those have been called for years bump side Fords.
Yeah.
When they redesigned the F-Series for the 73 model year, they only did very minor geometrical changes. Now, nothing directly interchanges sheet metal wise with them. You know, everything's just slightly different, but it's still the same size, same, very obvious a Ford truck. It wasn't like they just went off deep end and, you know, completely redesigned the thing, built a Cybertruck or something, you know. So they went to what they called the dent side at that point. They took that concave, they went out, and now they went in with it. They went from an outie belly button to an innie belly button. And
nice.
That's become one of the most popular series of Ford trucks ever. Also, from a collector standpoint, the crew cabs. Ford, a lot of people don't know that Ford did not build an in-house crew cab until 1980.
Really?
Yeah. But Ford crew cabs exist all the way back to the 30s.
Yeah.
And the reason is outside outfitters would make crew cabs.
Okay.
Now, Ford in the late 1950s started realizing there was definitely a market for crew cabs. And so what they started doing is they started doing authorized body people that would, you know, make these crew cabs.
Nice.
Eventually, Ford of Canada started doing this for Ford Motor Company out of the United States. They would ship Ford chassis with a Ford regular cab on it up to Ford of Canada. Ford of Canada would then cut them in half. They would have their own stamped rear doors, roof panels, things like that. As you know, I've had a number of the 73 to 79 Ford crew cab trucks. There was either 2,500 or 3,500 built.
That's a small number.
This is from what I've read in the past.
Yeah.
But what's known is that Amtrak purchased like 25 or 1,000 of them, something like that. They purchased 500 flatbed F350s and 500 short bed F250s.
Nice.
What they don't know is if the crew cab production, the ones that were sold to Amtrak, is included in the civilian models or not. That's why a lot of the sources out there say 25 or 3,500. Nobody's really sure. Because when you do a title search or a VIN search on them, it doesn't come back as a crew cab because it was originally a regular cab truck. They were sent up before the cab. No, what's funny, the 73 to 79s, when you look at those, you can almost tell that made on a Friday versus made on a Wednesday because the rear door gaps don't always line up. It's funny the way that they were put together.
I love how there's those stories of the whole made on a Friday thing, and it's so true. It's so funny.
There really is. It really can be.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just another interesting side note on those crew cabs. But then in 80, they started officially making them in U.S. plants for crew cab trucks.
Yeah, that was the next generation, the 7th gen. They did the first ground-up redesign since 1965 on them.
You're talking for 1980?
Yeah. Yep, the 8886 that was redesigned, all new chassis and a larger body.
And it was a sad day at Ford.
Why?
You don't know what happened in 1980?
Hold on, that might be lower down on my list here.
I can just tell you.
Is it going to be bad news?
In 1980, Ford dropped the solid axle from their truck line.
Oh, I actually didn't have that on here.
Yeah.
I've got another really sad one coming up.
All Ford 4x4s were solid axle till 1979.
I didn't realize
In
that.
1980, they dropped the solid axle completely.
Aw.
In 1986, the F350 came back with a Dana 60 solid axle in the front.
Nice.
And the TTB independent front suspension in the F250 all the way up to 1997.
Nice.
Then when the Super Duty came back in 1999, we had solid axles in the 250 and 350, and it's been that way ever since.
Nice.
So yeah, Ford, very dark days in what they call the bullnose series of Fords, because they have kind of they didn't quite look like the dent side. They kind of like a bullnose. They had this kind of like stout, bulldog front end on them. 1980 to 1986.
They should have learned from, what has that been at the time? Was it AMC? I don't remember now. With the Commandos.
Oh, when they
Those
changed the front
bullnose
end.
and they didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's one of those things in history. They'll do it here, it fails. They do it here, it comes back.
Yeah. Well,
The funny thing, do you remember when Palm Pilots first came out?
oh my God, I haven't heard that term in like 30 years.
I actually have one.
Okay.
You ever hear of the Wizard? It was
Yes.
either Wizard or Mr. Wizard.
Yes.
That predated that in like the 80s. Complete and total flop.
Oh, geez.
Nobody liked it. Everybody hated it. And even now, I don't remember what they called it. You've heard of MSN, the internet. I mean, Well, it was internet at one time. Regardless, they actually had a
I thought you meant
smartwatch
the
at
stuff
one
they put
time.
on Chinese food.
Oh, that's MSM, or no, that's MSG.
Yeah. Okay.
MSM is that's something else.
All right.
No, they actually came out with a smartwatch in like the 90s, I think. And again, total flop.
Huh.
And you look at that now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh yeah.
Well, anyway, so to me, dark days. Mm-hmm. I think they're a decent looking truck, the 80 to 86s, but no solid axle is for me.
Well, here's another nice thing, is I know we're both kind of diesel fans. In '83, they added diesel to the F-Series through their partnership with the International Harvester, which later became Navistar. And it's '83 to present, all the heavier duty F-Series trucks were all usually equipped with the diesel engine.
Yep. Yeah, they started out with a 6.9 naturally aspirated, went to a 7.3 naturally aspirated, then to a 7.3 turbo.
Probably one of the most important things or evolutions in the design of Ford, I would say, happened in that series of trucks as well.
What's that?
They added the blue oval to the center of the grille.
Really?
Yep, that was that year that...
That happened to the bulldozers?
That generation of them, yeah.
I did not... You're correct, because I never thought of that. My 78, 79 Fords, and I had a bunch of those. I've probably owned 20 of those over the years.
I got to follow back.
They said Ford across the hood.
Yep.
And then when they went to the bullnose, you got the blue oval
Yep.
in the grill. I did not. Now, there's a great trivia question. When we do Wheels in the Woods, which, by the way, I'm not going to do an official announcement right now,
Okay.
but we've been looking at everything, and it sure looks like the second Saturday in October is going to be the date of it.
Sounds good.
So we will do an official announcement very soon.
Sounds
but we're
good.
going to start talking about Wheels in the Woods again, and that's our 4x4, our annual show that we do through the museum.
I like it. I'll be there again.
And
this
we
year.
do a trivia contest. This last year, we actually have done it every year. The first year we did an impromptu one.
Mm-hmm.
We did an official trivia contest last year.
I couldn't play.
It was a lot of fun. But I think that's a great trivia question, is when did the blue oval go to the grill on the F-Series? And you're saying it's 1980.
Yeah, I save all these notes on here.
Good.
So whenever that time comes, I can start digging through this.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a couple others and a follow-up note to a question you brought up earlier. So 1983 marked the final year of the F100.
Okay.
And I don't know why this note's so much further down the list than what I found. The 1980 to 83 F100 was never offered in four-wheel drive.
Okay.
So the F100 was only ever a two-wheel drive.
So that might have been the era that I was thinking of with that.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. So then...
And then also that series was the first one to offer power mirrors, power windows, and power door locks.
Okay. All right.
And I can't go to the next... Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
My word's been locking up bad. I
So
don't know.
now we're going to go to the next series. So you're talking the 87.
Yep, 87 to 91.
They call the brick nose.
Yeah, the 8th generation.
8th generation. That's the brick nose. Now, I've owned a couple of those, and the one that I had was the F350, the one that I drove the most. I had an F350, a regular cab, 8-foot bed, 460 gas big block in it. Got a solid about 7 miles a gallon. No matter what I did with it, whether I was towing with it, driving with it, it was about 7 miles a gallon with that 460 EFI big block.
Now, was that with an auto or a manual
It
transmission?
had a C6 3-speed auto, unfortunately. I
That's
really
a bummer.
wish. Now, mind you, though, that was a great deal for me because I had a Dana 60 Dodge front axle for sale. Guy literally traded me the whole running driving truck for, and it had a Dana 60 in it as well.
Nice.
A better one, the high pinion Dana 60. So,
That's awesome.
so I got the whole truck. I threw some 36 TSL Swampers on it that I had.
Nice.
And I drove it pretty regularly until I sank it at the Mounds Off-Road Park.
Nice.
That's the one. I don't know if I've ever shown you the pictures, but I sank it in the back hole at the Mounds, and mud was coming through I had Preston with me. He was like 3 years old, 2 or 3 years old. He's in a car seat.
Uh-oh.
And mud and water is coming out of the dashboard. And he's like,
I've not seen that.
yeah, and he's like, Dad, out now, out, Dad, now. You know.
That's funny.
So yeah, and the engine got
Now,
filled
I gotta
full
ask,
of-
is it sad or is it awesome that some of your kids' first words are, evacuate the vehicle now?
True.
I'd think it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty
There's
awesome.
probably organization somewhere where it's 3-letter abbreviation probably wouldn't appreciate it.
Let me do a shout out to an old Wheelin buddy, and I know there's a number of people that listen to this podcast that would know who I'm talking about, Jim Kitson. Here I was, back part of the Mounds. I did fortunately trailer the F350 there with my old Silverado at the
That's
time.
lucky.
And it was a whole trip where I didn't have my rig ready. The F350 was my shop truck, but it had 36s on it. I went tooling around.
Yeah.
I sunk it in this hole. Anyways, I'm back there. Jim Kitson says, I'm going to tow you out to the parking lot. Mm-hmm. And he had a YJ with a small block Chevy in it.
I love it. I
was,
love it.
And he's just hammering and pulling this big 1-ton truck out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that he had some later on transmission and axle damage that kind of like reared its head from doing that. And forever grateful for getting my beat up old truck out of there. But
I tried to pull a big loaded down semi with sand in it once. I bent the hitch, but I got him out.
oh jeez.
Yeah, maybe that's why I blew the engine. Anyways,
Yeah. So those are the brick noses.
Yeah.
I missed my brick nose. I did put another engine in it.
nice.
And I ended up selling it years later.
Yeah. So there's some interesting manual transmission evolutions of those years.
ZF5.
Yeah, that was the first year the 5-speed manual overdrive being offered.
Yep.
It was 1987. The 4 speeds were discontinued as standard equipment, but were available as a customer option until 89.
Yes.
So, and then I don't know if we want to get into the 9th gen, or it looks like it's about time here. Come back in a minute.
Sure, we'll come back.
Sounds good.
Puppies are cute. Spiders are not. Spiders are creepy and ugly. But what will you do? You will call ABC Home and Commercial Services. The Spider Fighters can service your home for these unwelcome guests. ABC Spider Fighters will provide the solution for your spiders, wasps, box elder bugs, Asian lady beetles, cluster flies, and all your visiting insects. Call now for a prepaid discount. ABC Home and Commercial. The Spider Fighters. 810-794-5678.
Before the break, John, I think we had gotten up to the 9th generation.
Just finished the 8th, starting the 9th.
Okay, so we're starting the 9th. To me, that was kind of dark days again. I got some reasons for that, but tell us, what do you know about the 9th generation of the Ford F-Series?
Well, in 93 is when we got the SVT Lightning. So that was
Okay, those
introduced-
are cool.
Yeah.
Those are cool. I do like
I've
those.
seen a few of those.
Those
Only-
had a factory, was a McCullough supercharger on them?
I remember reading about that, and I don't see where it is. So,
Okay.
I think.
I'm pretty sure they had a factory supercharger on them. They were pretty cool trucks. When I was in high school in the 90s, if you were a Ford guy and you were a fast Ford truck guy, you wanted a Lightning.
They're cool. I've seen one at the dealership, and I don't remember if it was that or the later variant of it.
And it had to be the SVT Lightning was the one that actually had the cool stuff in it. They did make a
specially tuned performance.
Yeah, they made a regular Lightning that was just a body package, basically.
Yep.
So the SVT Lightning, I remember one kid driving around town, and one maybe it was his dad's, who knows. But it was a sweet truck.
Yeah.
And,
a little over 11,000 were produced from 93 to 95 on those.
Okay.
This is probably a big year for you. I know we're going to get up to this part in a second, but 94.5, the 7.3 was introduced.
Well, no, the 7.3 Power Stroke was introduced.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Because before then it was the 7.3 IDI, and it was
my bad.
Yeah, it was.
I probably should have read the rest of it.
It was basically the same block and heads and all that,
Yeah.
but the 7.3 Power Stroke was the old IDI that now had a different injection system and a turbocharger.
My bad on that. Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. And I'm not like
That's why we're two people.
Yeah, well, that's true. I'm not. Well, no, we're one person. If you're listening to this podcast, it's just one dude like Jeff Dunham who does two different voices.
I have a few karaoke songs I can sing, and I can do that. Toby Keith and Willie Nelson, I can do both parts of it.
Okay, all right. Well. So yeah, no, and I'm not. I've owned a number of 7.3s. I'm not this big 7.3 guru, though. I'm still learning about them every day.
Yeah.
But the 7.3, like you said, 94.5. You can get the 7.3 Power Stroke.
So let me pose this question to you then.
Sure.
This one I've got here, the 97 F250 HD with that 7.3 Power Stroke is listed as the rarest and most desirable of these 9th generation Fords.
Okay. You said the 97 HD?
Yeah, the 250 HD with the 7.3.
I don't know why. I mean...
I don't know either. It didn't expand on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know what you're talking about, but I mean...
Yeah.
Okay. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Interesting trivia, or not trivia thing, but in 1996 was the first year... and the only year of that style of Ford that you could get a crew cab short bed truck.
But why? I hate short beds with a passion.
I'm not a big fan either.
I hate them.
But they discontinued that. 1979 was the last year you could get a crew cab short bed.
Yeah.
And then for 1996, it came back for the last year of that body style. And then that was the end of it. So if you see one of those gone on the road, you know it's a 96.
Yeah. Well, so the next set.
But before we get into the next generation, though, there's one big pet peeve that I need to face about the 9th generation.
Okay.
You've seen it on social media.
Probably.
I'm sure. You're on a lot of the same pages I am and other things. Stop calling the 9th generation Ford F-Series OBS Fords.
I've never heard that.
You haven't heard it?
I don't think. Well, what does the OBS stand for first?
For whatever reason, probably about 5 years ago is the first time I saw this. And mind you, I've been in Ford trucks for 20-something years.
Yeah.
People started calling it started out calling the 1980 to 1997. They blocked them all together and they called them OBS Fords. Now, lately, it's been the 92 to 97s. They're calling the OBS Fords for old body style.
Oh, God.
If it is an old body style, it's going to be either the previous generation or a Model T Ford truck would be the old body style. And I'm getting really sick of people calling it OBS Ford. It's an OBS Ford. Call it by what it is. It's either a 9th generation or called a 92 to 97 or called a brick nose, a bull nose, these loving nicknames that we have.
Yeah.
But OBS is too confusing of a moniker to put on there.
Agreed.
Because you could say a 78, 79 is an old body style.
No, I do recall this actually coming up with customers at AutoZone, I think.
They come in and say, I've got an OBS Ford or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just a stupid thing
I didn't
to
mean
call them.
that place name where I used to work. You can bleep that, Andrew?
Yeah, whatever. It's just
Yeah.
come up with something better.
Yeah.
come up with something better. And that's basically what it is because, and I'm almost thinking that these flat bill hat Monster Energy drink wearing, what's that?
Kyle's.
I'm kind of thinking that they felt a little jealous that, you had the bull nose and then the brick nose Fords, and they figured that their generation, since it's lumped in, the cab's the same, the bed's basically the same. They're like, well, our 92 to 97s have got to be something, so let's call them an OBS. Whatever. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Stop calling them that.
Yeah.
It is such a millennial thing to call them.
Agreed.
No. Anyways.
Well, try to get you back off topic. I know we got something special for this generation here, but I got a few things I'll throw out real quick. So they made a decision in the 10th generation, so 97 to 04, to kind of push the F-150 as a contemporary vehicle for personal use, and they're pushing the 250s and the 350s more for work-based.
Well, yeah. So 97, the F-150 was designed by Ford of Canada. Mm-hmm. They were extremely rust-prone. A lot of engine problems, a lot of body problems. They call them the egg a lot of times because they're an egg-shaped kind of body.
Nice.
That's not a nickname that has stuck, but a lot of people do say it's the egg.
Yeah.
And I think that was 97 to 03 for the F-150, something like that.
Should have been. Well, that one's the 04.
04, yeah.
So, yeah.
And that was, but what's interesting, that was when they first divorced the F-150 from the 250, 350 line.
Yeah, that was that.
That's what you were starting to, okay, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, they kind of separated it, geared that more towards customer,
yes,
day-to-day people versus your work crowd.
Well, it's funny you mention that because my kids, their maternal grandparents bought a 97 F-150 brand new.
Nice.
They had ordered it. They also owned a 96 F-150, which would be the old square body, OBS. And so they had this square body Ford, and they ordered this brand new 97. And they went to go pick it up, and their grandpa was like, that's a Ranger. They're like, no, it's the F-150. It's the new F-150. He's like, no. Because it looked smaller. It was more sleek.
Yeah.
And
that's funny.
Yeah, so he was not real happy. They were not very happy. They only got 62,000 miles out of it before the engine blew up.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was not a...
Well, they should have looked at this one then. This one came out in 99. The SVT Lightning came back.
Oh,
This
sure.
one with an Eaton supercharger. That put its output up to 360 horsepower till 2001. Then it was 380. Around 28,000 of those were made up till 04.
Okay. All right, very
And
cool.
then
Maybe that's the supercharger I was thinking of.
that
by
could
the
be,
way.
yeah. So there's the last note I have on this section, and we can get to the other thing. The front body work of the Navigator and SUV. Oh, I said that totally backwards. The gist of it, the Ford Blackwood. Or Lincoln Blackwood.
Lincoln Blackwood,
Yeah.
yeah. It was the first... It was one of the first F-Series attempts at Ford's attempt with the F-Series. I guess I'm saying that incorrectly, but...
I said the note wrong anyway.
to try to specifically go to a very narrow market,
Yeah.
thinking that they would have a good set. Do you know the market they were going for that?
I don't on that. I know they discontinued it in 2002.
So at the time, the Lincoln Blackwood was marketed specifically to black golf players.
Ha!
That was the idea. And
I did not know that.
It was mainly golfers in general, but they were trying because there was a lot of black people that were buying Lincolns, and Tiger Woods was huge at the time.
Yeah.
And so they decided that they wanted to do this, even though Tiger Woods was with Buick. I remember the advertising at the time. It was like, you can put your golf clubs in the back of this thing. And, and it was always some black guy going and just putting these in. I don't know.
I know they dropped it in 02. It did not have good sales.
It had terrible sales.
I will say this, though. We had one of those at one of my prior places of employment. Oh, my God.
Taco Bell. Yeah.
No. Car dealer.
Oh, okay.
That thing was beautiful.
Was it?
Oh, my God. And
they had a carpeted bed on the inside,
Yeah.
That's so weird,
Yeah,
man.
it was nice.
Such a weird thing.
So the one thing
Nice
I wondered,
carpeted bed.
I liked it. It looked sharp, man. It was a
Okay,
nice
they are
truck.
sharp looking.
Now this is one of my favorite details about this. I love the color, and I wonder if this ever dated back, or why they did this for some grand scheme of things, dated back to the original. What Henry Ford said. This is only available in black.
Yeah, the Blackwood was only in black.
Yeah, and I wonder if that has any tie-in to what he used to say back then, or if it was just incidental.
I could
with
see
that.
it. I could see it.
Yeah.
It was an odd.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff was then.
Yeah, it was just an odd part of history.
Yeah.
So I guess finishing out, and you said that it actually spans a couple of generations, but technically the Ford Super Duty. Well, no, there is the new Ford Super Duties now, but the Ford Super Duty that came out in 1999 and had a nice long run to 2016 with some minor upgrades, engine changes, front end sheet metal changes. Pretty much the same truck, though. So for almost 20 years, the Ford Super Duty comes out.
Essentially, I didn't get too much into those. I just kind of more went for the quote-unquote F-150 series and a lot of looking on here.
Yeah.
I've got some stuff a little bit further down if we even get to it.
Okay.
So I know you had another topic you wanted to get into real quick.
Well, I want
here,
to talk
so.
briefly about the Ford Excursion.
Sounds
and
good.
I want to bring on my daughter, Abby.
That works.
And I want to ask her a little bit about the old Excursions and things
That
like
works.
that.
Well, we'll take a quick second here and switch over.
Well, yeah, she can
and
just come over here.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. So we're going to interview Miss Abby here a little bit. And she's going to be on YouTube, of course, and she's going to be famous. And yeah, put on your headphones there, kid. You got to get close like I am to the microphone here. Okay. So this is Abby Codette. Hi, YouTube world. She's looking at John's computer here, and she's looking at me, and she doesn't know what to say. But you might even be too old now to remember this, but do you remember when I had that orange Jeep?
Yes.
You do. Okay. And do you remember what you used to tell me when we went down to Florida in the orange Jeep?
No.
No, you don't remember? No. You were like, you need to get another Excursion, Dad.
I did?
You did. Because remember we had the white Excursion years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you were like, okay, you didn't like my Jeep at all, and you told me you want another Excursion. So now, maybe you don't like the Excursion anymore, but what was the reason back then that you liked the Excursions?
Had more room.
Had more room? What else? Anything else?
No.
No. What about the reclining seats, the middle row seats that recline?
That too.
That too, yeah. You don't know what to say, do you?
No.
No. We'll bring you on sometime to talk about something you know a lot about, like maybe making cupcakes or Funko Pops or something like that, right?
I don't know.
Do we put you on the spot? Yeah. All right. Give the headphones back to John. Thank you for coming on the show. So we were just going to talk to Miss Abby there for a second. She kind of talked me into getting another Excursion, and I still drive Project Excursion every day now, but that's that Super Duty line. I've had the Super Duty truck. I've had the Excursions. I'm a big fan of.
Obviously.
Yeah, they well, the 250, 350, like you said, they're very commercial in a way, even though they're not commercial vehicles per se.
Yeah.
But they have solid axles, very heavy duty frames,
Yes.
very good tow ratings.
Solid, easy to work on.
Yeah, I actually read. I want to say it was in Peterson's 4 Off Road. Rest in peace. But I think I read a couple of years ago, somebody said in there, one of the authors said something along the lines of the Ford Super Duty is like a good hammer. You can upgrade maybe the handle or make it a little more ergonomic, but it still does the same thing, and it's still a very effective tool.
I'm not going to scroll up, but I believe it was 1977 forward. It's been the best-selling truck.
Yeah, they have. And what's funny is I have been a huge GM car guy fan for years, but when it comes to my pickup trucks, for my work trucks, I love my Ford trucks because They are simple, easy to work on, heavy duty.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can beat the living snot out of them.
And you do.
I do. Well, I mean, with GM going to IFS in 1991 and just, I like my solid axle. I like something that's as simple as it can be. And I will probably drive a Ford Super Duty truck of some sort for a long time here.
Yeah.
Of course, somebody gives me a smoking deal on something else.
Oh, yeah.
all
Never
bets
know
are
what
off the
comes
table.
up. Yeah.
But
So-
you had more notes on the Super Duty. Well, basically, the 99 to now. What do you got?
I didn't get into a lot of those ones. There's some notes further down here.
Okay.
I can try and
There's
find
one we
them.
need to bring up though, but we'll do that towards the end.
I think I had them in this one.
What?
Dude, I have got 17 pages open on this thing.
Okay, yeah, we need to learn to
Yeah.
funnel it down and
I don't think you can. Here we
Yeah.
go. Here's heavy duty. The only thing I highlighted was outside North America, Ford builds the Ford Cargo and Ford F-Max.
what are those?
I have no idea.
Oh,
This is under the heavy duty trucks.
a little bit of
section I
Johnny
found.
Orange stuff though here, a little trivia. Ford, like all of our truck manufacturers, did give up something that's near and dear to your heart. 2010 was the last year you get a manual transmission in the Ford F-Series.
Yep, they also dropped the floor side bed.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
in
saw
the
that.
F-150.
Yeah, I did highlight that. That was Generation 12, the 09 to 14 series.
But not that
Yeah.
it makes it any better, but have you seen what Ford is doing for 2020 with the Super Duty series?
I have not yet, no.
The Ford Tremor. Have you seen those?
I don't think so,
I've seen
no.
a couple on the road now.
Really?
It is
Okay.
the Ford Super Duty. So you got your Dana 60 front, your whatever they're using for a rear end now. I don't know if they're still using Sterlings or maybe they're using Dana 80s or who knows.
Yeah.
But solid axles front and rear, selectable lockers.
Oh,
And I believe the Tremor also gets a winch in it. Now,
huh.
here's another thing about the Tremor. The Tremor comes stock with the new 7.3 liter gasoline big block V8. It is not a
Interesting.
diesel engine. But you can also get it with a 6.7 diesel. It is a direct competitor to the Dodge Power Wagon, which is only available in gas.
That swings me a little more this way.
That's what I'm
I like
saying,
that.
man. So yeah, and some cool color combinations.
Oh, yeah.
And I love them. I've seen a
Yeah.
couple of them. I'm hoping in a few years I can find a nice used one somewhere
Mm-hmm.
for a reasonable price. The Ford Tremor is probably the first new vehicle that I really salivated over in a long
Yeah.
time. Just the fact that they took their already awesome platform and did some of the off-roader stuff to it, so it comes from the factory with
Mm-hmm.
it, to me is pretty cool.
Well, I'm going to back up for one more because that's your, I guess it'd be your 13th generation.
Yeah.
So 2015 and now. This Gen 12, 09 to 14, probably one of the biggest, actually, I'm sorry, this is in the 13th generation. The biggest, most significant changes, I think, in any truck manufacturing, maybe I'm wrong, since they began, they switched to aluminum body panels.
Well, yeah, that was for 2017.
Yeah, massive weight reduction on it, better fuel mileage.
Now, in the Ford Super Duty, though, 11 to 16 was the first time that they were fully divorced from International for their engine designs. Ford,
All going over that at one
the
point.
6.7 Power Stroke was designed entirely in-house by Ford.
Nice. I remember talking about that a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
The 6.4 was kind of an international / Ford program. The 6 liter was still international. 7.3 was international. But the 6.7 was all Ford designed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they seemed when they came out like they were going to be just this awesome engine. But they're starting to see a lot of the same problems that they saw in the 6 liters and the 6.4s.
Bummer.
But in the higher miles, in the 200, 250, 300, where before with the 6 liter and 6.4s, they were having those problems at like 60 or 80,000 miles.
So they got a little better.
Yeah, they're getting better. They are
Yeah.
getting better. But, so
Yeah. Well, I think we got enough. We can do one more section here. So one more break. I mean, unless you guys
another break.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I think we're only on. We're literally halfway through my notes.
Oh
We're
my
not going to
God,
go
John.
through all of them.
All right, let's take the third break of this episode of Wheelin'.
I got one thing before that, though, is we were talking about the F-250s and your expeditions. So this was a recent study done by iccars.com, published on Ford's website.
Okay.
Listed the F-250 Super Duty, the longest lasting vehicle, and the Expedition, Explorer, and F-150 among the top 20 longest lasting vehicles.
I can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Built well. So, all right, see you in a minute.
Hey, it sounds like it's time to swap out that old engine for something better, John.
Yeah, man, but I have so much into my trans and transfer case setup already. I don't want to change those too.
Sounds like you need to call Quick Draw brand adapters. They specialize in conversion bell housings for nearly all diesel and gasoline engines, including the new 2.8R Cummins.
You know, I like weird engines, though. I want something different.
Then you definitely need to visit quickdrawbrand.com today. They have those hard-to-find parts. They also have used diesel engines available. You can call them at 513-446-9654.
Cool, I'll do that. See what they have. Thanks. All right, so we're going to try and summarize some of the rest of the stuff up fairly quick here. So there were a lot of special notable models of the Ford trucks over their series.
Okay.
The F-150 Knight, 91 and 92. The Eddie Bauer, 94 to 96. We already mentioned the Lightning, 93, 95, and then 99 to 04. So 2 different generations there. Mm-hmm. Of course, the Harley-Davidson edition.
Yep.
Everybody knows about those. One of my absolute favorite models of Fords, and this is what intrigued me looking back into them, the Raptor.
Oh, yeah, the Raptor's
so again, kind of 2
huge.
gens there, 10 to 14 and 17 to present. The Raptor actually shares only its cab with the standard F-150.
Yep. And you know what's really cool about the Raptor right now is I wouldn't say the market's flooded with them, but there are a number of first-gen Raptors that are available pretty cheap now.
Really?
Because the Border Patrol had purchased a bunch of them.
About that. Yeah.
And they are now retiring them.
Yeah.
And there was even a guy who did a video. He said he purchased the cheapest Raptor in the U.S. He paid like $4,200 for it or something.
My hometown did a fire department demonstration with a Raptor that was donated.
Okay.
I just saw the after pictures.
Wait, whoa.
Yes,
they cut up a Raptor?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Remember I said it was the fire department?
They burned a Raptor.
Yeah.
They didn't burn the remote reservoir shocks and all that, did they?
I don't know. I couldn't tell from the picture. I meant to call him, see if I could go get him.
Just move on to your next tub. You're pissing me off.
Well, you mentioned about Ford being spelled on the hood. The Raptor had since 1983 Ford on the hood.
Raptor didn't come out in 1983.
No, first time since 83 it had Ford on the hood.
Oh, okay. All right.
So a Ford truck had Ford on the hood. They had a special blue accent package, and this, I never knew about this, with rear cove front-facing seats for the model year.
I do prefer front-facing seats in my vehicles.
Yeah.
Rear-facing seats are...
I totally read that backward.
Okay.
I thought it said rear. That's why I...
Recaro seats, is that what you're saying?
Yes. I totally misread that.
Yes. Recaro seats.
2001 to present, we were introduced to the King Ranch edition.
And you know what? Guys who buy a King Ranch interior to update their Excursion or even their Super Duty, big money.
The seats are upholstered in saddle leather. They give you some kind of scale on that.
$3,500 minimum for a nice set.
They like 40% of the King Ranch sales are in Texas. Dealt with a big ranch down there. That was all their fleet vehicles were these.
Yeah.
825,000 acre King Ranch.
Yeah.
That's the name. We got the Platinum 2009 to present. The Tremor, like you mentioned, that was in 2014. Here's a cool one. This was introduced 2019 Detroit Auto Show.
2020, the Tremor.
This one's got F-150 Tremor 2014.
150.
Yeah.
The F-250 Tremor is different.
Yeah, all right, fine.
Whatever, we fine.
There were only 2,200 of them built.
I don't even pay attention to the F-150s.
So you won't care about this one then. Again, 2019, they introduced the electric one. Yeah. Yeah. The cool thing about that, the record-setting demonstration tow of 1.25 million pounds. Like that was one they towed the space shuttle with, if I remember. Or no, that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Skip over all of that. Won a lot of awards, of course. They've made vans. There's a bunch of different stuff for export in other countries. Boils down to the last little bit that I got here. These were calendar year for United States and Canada. This is from 97 to 2019. Quantities of Ford F-Series trucks sold. So the records for Canada are 2003 to 19, and then 97 to 19 for the U.S. You want to take a stab at either of these numbers.
What year again?
So the U.S. from 1997 to 2019.
Oh, you want to know how many during that entire period of time?
I want you to take a stab at this.
25 million.
No. Care to try your Canada from 03 to 2019?
Oh, Canada 03 to 2019.
Yep. Assuming the sources of these numbers is correct.
30 million.
No. So
Okay.
Canada 03 to 19. I'm going to round up, sake of argument, 1.8 million.
Oh, okay. So I was way high.
Yeah.
I was way high. Okay.
The U.S. 97 to 19 was just under 17.8 million.
So I was almost double. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
for
all
a
right.
total of almost 19.5 million.
That was
vehicles.
all F series.
All it says is
Okay.
F-Series trucks sold.
Gotcha.
So that doesn't say production, that was sold.
Okay.
So yeah, tremendous number.
Here's, not that I'm putting them down at the end here, but here would be my complaint when the Ford keeps saying we're the best-selling truck, the F Series. The problem is all of their trucks from the F-150 all the way through the commercial F-750 are all F Series.
Yeah. So if they're adding all that together,
You're adding it all together, but still, obviously, they have something that
they've been around for a long time.
That
I don't think
works.
they're going anywhere anytime soon.
no. So I know you're not a big Ford fan, but thank you
I
for
can appreciate it.
Thank
though.
you for
That's
looking into
tremendous
everything
history, very influential in the market.
And as you and I have said before, we applaud Ford for, except for that little dark time between 80 and 86, never abandoning the solid axle.
Yeah.
They've had except for those 7 years there of dark times, they've had a solid axle available in their 4x4 trucks since the 40s. And so, that's it's good to know that, there's no reason that they're going to get rid of it anytime soon.
Yeah.
Man, thank you. Let's do
no
more
problem.
F-Series stuff in the future.
Sounds good.
Who knows what we're going to do for 49 if we're still alive.
Yeah,
But-
I hope so. I mean, I'm prepared. I'll be here.
Yeah, you are. All right, buddy.
So
do your thing.
I got a new thing to end this with here, so we're going to wing it and see what happens.
Oh, a new
here.
thing.
Yeah, I actually wrote stuff.
Okay, I didn't even know you could write.
You know I can write. Come on.
Okay.
So if you guys have any questions or comments about any of our episodes, feel free to join our 4x4 Talk page on Facebook. Leave us a comment. You find that with a quick search for 4x4 Talk using the numbers, not the words, or just facebook.com/groups/4x4 Talk. A couple quick questions, get you on the page, and ask away. For any more bonus content you'd like to enjoy, check us out, patreon.com/Wheelin Radio. Access at low as $2 a month. And if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button at the bottom of the video. And make sure to hit subscribe. And as always, of course, thanks for listening and have a good one, everybody.